If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE sponsored podcast.
Hey girl, how's it going?
Hi. Oh, it's just going wonderful. How are you?
Good, good. I'm loving your bold lip today.
You know, Rihanna represent, a little heavy.
Very nice.
Can't
Yeah.
complain.
I ordered, since I'm fully vaccinated now, and hoping to be maskless out in the world soon. I ordered 3 bold lipsticks from my aunt who does Mary Kay.
You know what? I think that's the right move. I think it's
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Anyway, I am Mercedes Landazuri.
And I'm Lindsay Neville.
And with our powers combined, we are PlastChicks, the voices of resin.
I won't even try and tag team the other line because we're never going to get it together.
So I am a color lab technology manager at Peacock Colors in the Chicago area.
And I am a plastics engineer at Tech Tank in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. And we started this podcast how long ago now? 2 years ago? That's crazy. Yeah. Just 2 buddies in the plastics industry, met through the Society of Plastics Engineers, and they're kind enough to sponsor our podcast. So each episode we have a guest on who works in the industry or adjacent to the industry, and chat with them. It's not always chicks; it's fellas as well.
Everybody.
But we are chicks, so hence the name. But you can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, like
Google,
Stitcher, Apple. Yeah. And they're released the first Friday of every month by SPE.
It's true.
You can also find us on social media. PlastChicks, PlastChicks. I think that's the first time I've ever spelled it out on the podcast.
I know. I'm impressed because I would be distracted halfway through spelling it and lose track.
Give me something else. I'm very good. Give me another word to spell. I'll go right now.
Spelling bee. There's not an I between plast and chicks. We're not PlastChicks. We won't be mad if you call us that.
You can call us that.
You can call us that, but that's not what we are.
If you're looking for us on social media, just at PlastChicks.
Yeah, drop the I.
Mm-hmm. And joining us today, we have Anastasia Kraft, the CEO of Xena Workwear. I'm so excited to talk to you. Welcome onto the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I'm very excited to chat a little bit more about engineering, plastics, and safety boots.
Which I am actually wearing as I do every day when I'm at work. I wonder if the listeners at home can't see. I've got actually these ones. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, but I have some titanium dioxide on them today. We're running some white colorant, and apparently I spilled a little. But yeah, I absolutely love your products. Well, we'll get into all that. I'm actually excited. I'm going to get another pair. But anyway, first of all, we talked before we went live with the recording a little bit about your background. But is Kraft your real last name? Because in German, the meaning of it is like power or force. And so it just kind of seemed like a little too perfect for a young CEO who is catalyzing such meaningful change and empowering so many women in our industry.
It is my real name. And I'm actually very curious how you learn German. I like my last name so much that I even decided to keep it after I got married. My husband's last name has 14 letters and my full name is Anastasia. So for so many different reasons, I decided to stay on a Kraft. So, but I'm so curious how you learned German, and I peeked super briefly at your LinkedIn profile, which lists 7 different languages, including Russian. Like, I rarely meet people who speak so many languages. That's so cool.
Well, yeah, likewise. I was super excited when I was seeing that you spoke 4 languages too, or more maybe. But and this we are going to talk about you. but no, I learned German when I was 12 years old. My mom was in nursing school and working full time too, and I really wanted to be an exchange student, so she let me go and live with her sister, who was married to an Austrian man and had 2 kids. So I went there and lived there for half a year with them. And just, I mean, I knew how to say no and cat, and that was it. I didn't even know how to say yeah.
Good start.
And so I learned a lot when I was there. Then I started studying it in high school, and then got on a scholarship from Congress and U.S. Congress and German Bundestag to go there my junior year of high school, where I got better and got more of a not Deutsch accent. So,
oh my God. Yeah, I'm from Southern Germany.
Yeah, I saw you must be from like near Düsseldorf or no, sorry, near Nuremberg or something, right?
Stuttgart.
Oh, Stuttgart.
Between Stuttgart and the Black Forest. I'm very biased. I love Southern Germany. I recommend people to go to Southern Germany to check out the Oktoberfest, like either in Munich, or we have a smaller one in Stuttgart, which is amazing. You get a good impression of the German culture.
That's I have a friend living in Stuttgart right now, and our plan before COVID was to go for the Frühlings Festival, and then COVID happened. So we're gonna do it later.
Yeah, I highly recommend that.
Yeah, and as for me, sure, like Southern Germany is cool and all, but like Northern Germany is where it's at. They're very quiet. They're completely the opposite of Southern Germans. But and the place where the city where I lived, I always say ich habe Punkte in Flensburg, because like it's like the city that I live in. That's where they do all the traffic tickets. Like go to like have to like have points in Flensburg. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. So let's talk about your background. How did you end up in manufacturing and engineering?
Yeah. When people ask me where I'm from, the short answer is Germany. But if I tell the longer story, I was actually born in Kazakhstan, and at the time it was a Russian speaking country, but they had major issues with corruption, and women did not have the same rights and opportunities as men. So my parents decided to move to Germany when I was about 10 years old, because my dad has some German roots. And living in Germany, I realized that women had so many more opportunities. You could see women in management positions and be financially independent. And like after seeing so many women living in Kazakhstan and not having the same opportunities and like being completely dependent on their husbands, like being housewives, I from an early age had the drive to get into a role where I would be financially dependent. I also love to, I'm slightly rebellious, and I hate it when people tell women like, you're not supposed to be in manufacturing, and you're not supposed to be in engineering or construction. That kind of fueled my my wish to go into engineering as well. But more importantly, I wanted to have a degree that would allow me to do something purposeful and have a positive impact in the world. And I think with engineering, it doesn't matter in what engineering field you go, you have so many opportunities to have a positive impact in the world and create something completely new that improves people's lives. So that's how I ended up at Reutlingen University studying international project engineering. It was kind of the perfect program for me, because I could never decide to study only physics or only Spanish. So this was the perfect program that combined different engineering subjects with a little bit of project management, different languages, intercultural competencies. So I really loved it. And of course, in material science, we had a massive focus on plastics, especially thermoplastics, because injection molding is incredibly important in the automotive industry, which is very strong in Southern Germany. So yeah, that's how I got into my degree. And yeah, that helped me at some point to get to the US, and I got some really cool international experience for that.
I was gonna say, you had some while you studied in Germany, you actually had some internships in the US, and you kind of ultimately landed in Wisconsin initially. Besides the obvious cheese, what
and beer
drew you there?
And beer. Oh, that was a big draw. It was actually very very surprising how I ended up in Waukesha. Because it was an international program, we all had to apply in different countries. And I had a bunch of exotic countries in my list, like countries in Asia or South America to improve my Spanish. And then like the most interesting offer came from Waukesha, Wisconsin. It's a small town in Wisconsin. So I accepted this position at the German steel cutting tool facility where I interned in environmental health and safety, and I got to do so many cool things there. And then after to finish my degree, I came back to the US and wrote my thesis at the same location about heat treatment of steel. So that's how I came to Waukesha. So, but I fell in love with Milwaukee and Wisconsin in general because it had such deep German roots, and I felt like home. Like it had, of course, really good beer and good cheese as well.
Mhm.
Part of it.
I went to I don't know if you've ever been. So I'm in Chicago, and I'm always going up to Sheboygan. We have a liquid color plant up there, Vortex liquid color. So, but once I was in Milwaukee and ran into like it was the weekend of July 14th, and they called it Bastille Days, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it was like, and I was like, oh, cool. So like there'll probably be like wine and cheese, and it was all like beer and like cheddar and like it was like nothing. It was like nobody was drinking wine, but yeah. But
Yeah.
Wisconsin is, I feel like of everybody that I've met, all the places that I've gone in the United States, Wisconsin has the nicest people. Everybody is so nice there.
I agree. I would say it about the Midwest in general, but I was blown away how supportive people are here. And especially like starting the business or even starting working in the manufacturing industry, I realized how inclusive and supportive people are. Like Americans and Germans are often compared to coconuts and peaches. So Germans are the coconuts that have a very hard shell. And even if you work in Germany and try to get to know your colleagues, Germans have this really hard shell that is difficult to get through. But then once you get through that shell, you have at some point good friends, but it takes a long time. With Americans, it's more easy to get along and they're more inclusive, but to get to that very close friendship, you have to invest a lot of time, which makes a lot of sense. I personally prefer the American method because it makes life so much easier and you feel just so much more welcoming in that culture.
Yeah. You know, I've thought about that a lot too. And how, you know, when I was going to school, you know, because it's kind of similar in Austria too. And then going to school in Germany, I felt like, well, it makes sense with that mentality. If you're going to school with the same people in the same class every year since kindergarten, you know, that's how Germans will often go. Whereas in the United States, we'll switch classrooms, and even like, you know, throughout the day, you switch the whole group of people that you're with from hour to hour. And it forces you from a much younger age to have to make friends with everybody, you know?
Yeah. I think I have never thought about it this way, but it makes a lot of sense because you're kind of forced to switch and you're kind of getting to the habit to get to know other people and be more welcoming. In Germany, when you end up like in a small village where those families have been living there for hundreds of years and like they know each other since kindergarten, it's way more difficult to get into it. But I have to say I have amazing friends in Germany and the US. So I travel a lot back and forth outside of the pandemic, but try to take the best out of every culture.
My friend who's living in Germany, she's single. And so before the pandemic, she was like trying to date, and just hearing some of her stories, I'm like, yeesh. Like she said, she brought a Reese's cup to a guy because he mentioned he liked them, and she works on base. So like she has access to them. And he was like, you were being very forward. And she's like, sorry, I just wanted to give you it's easy for me to get this candy. I was just being nice.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
Yeah, definitely when you're dating somebody from a different culture, that's when the big differences really, or the deep ingrained differences really come out. Yeah, those cultural differences. So
very true.
So Anna, when you moved to Wisconsin after you graduated from school in Germany, I think you worked for a consulting company initially. Is that right? For a year and a half or something?
Yeah, it was for almost 4 years. I started working for this really cool consulting company, project management consulting company, which seemed to be the perfect job for me because it was consulting in project management environments. So I got to apply my project management skills and work on the coolest projects with a bunch of engineers. And I got to experience different industries, different types of projects, manufacturing, construction. At some point, we traveled to Russia to plan the FIFA World Cup, which was kind of cool.
Oh,
to,
wow.
to be able to meet some Russians to do the planning for the FIFA World Cup. But overall, I loved my job working in that space. But I was usually the only woman in the room, and maybe the two of you can relate to the situation when you're in a room full of engineers and you're the only woman. And I was responsible for leading project plans of like multi-million-dollar, highly critical projects that had a clear deadline. And I needed to dress professionally. And that's where initially the struggle came in. Like, I have to dress professionally in the office, but then when we're going up on the shop floor, I have to run back to my desk and put on my clunky, terrible manly safety boots that I hated to wear with passion. That just made it impossible to dress professionally, and I felt like a clown walking on the shop floor and like tripping over my feet. So that's when the idea of the business kind of developed.
And so many people, I think, have had this struggle, but you actually did something about it. So how did that all get going? How were you able to, I mean, was it partially the connections that you had made while doing the consulting? I'd read that you went through a G-Beta accelerator program. Tell me about how it actually went from the concept to fruition.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I experienced that frustration myself, and then I started talking more to my female coworkers and my engineering friends in Germany, and like it seemed like everyone hated, like all the women in these industries hated their safety shoes. And I thought, how is it possible that we all just deal with this and like nobody's doing about it? And frustration is incredibly close to motivation, and that's what pushed me to say like, all right, I've been thinking about starting a business anyways, and I always wanted to do something that would have a purpose. So I thought the idea of creating better safety shoes for women and helping more women succeed in these non-traditional environments is something that I could stand behind and like I would love doing. And so it took a lot of time and effort to learn everything possible about American safety standards, like the ASTM 2413 is the most important one. Then finding a designer, creating a tech pack, finding a manufacturing facility. It took us, because I'm a German perfectionist, it took us 5 prototypes to get to the first product that I actually was comfortable with to launch. And then during the G-Beta program, it's an accelerator program, I finally decided to quit my job and focus on this entirely. And for those people who are not familiar with accelerator programs, these are programs that help companies either launch or grow, depending on what they focus on. In our case, it was a 7-week program. They helped us to reach 5 of the goals we set for ourselves. One of them was finally launch a website, like launch the business officially. But because it was very competitive and had a huge time commitment, I had to tell them like, you're either in or you're out. Like, if you want to be part of this program, you have to attend different meetings and working sessions during the day. So I couldn't continue doing my full-time job and be part of the program. So it was a scary, tough decision to say like, all right, if I want to build this business, I will have to give it a shot. So I quit my job and decided to focus on Xena Workwear completely, which was a good move.
So that's amazing. I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you made that choice. My feet and my fashion sensibilities are very happy that you made that choice.
And my feet will thank you. I just haven't. There's a pair in my cart, but till I go back to work, I don't need them right now.
Yeah, with maternity leave.
But so tell us about the very first pair that like delivered. What was that like?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so cool. We launched the website, so we had already a couple of pre-orders from women, which was a nice validation that showed us, okay, women actually want our boots, and they've been waiting for them. So I received that one email from a woman who worked at GE Healthcare here in Waukesha, and she was flying in for her rotation program, and she emailed me and said like, hey guys, like I ordered your boots. Like I broke my shoulders. She had a shoulder surgery and said like, can you please deliver the boots to me faster? I'm starting my job on Monday and I need boots that I can zip up because I'm not able to tie my shoes because I have only one usable hand. So she told us when she was flying in. So we decided just to surprise her at the airport. So we took the very first box that we had, like we showed up at the airport, we knew where she was flying, where she was coming from. So I had just a piece of paper saying Jenny. And then we decided to surprise her at the airport. She was so happy, and she has been one of our biggest supporters since. It was so cool. So she had her shoes on time, was able to start her job. And the coolest thing is like, we had since then so many other customers from GE, and everyone says Jenny is wearing the shoes all the time, like even though she doesn't have to. And this makes me so happy that women wear the boots not only when they have to, but we went from the feeling of really disliking, hating your boots, to women who wear the boots like all the time at work or even in their free time. And this is just expanding safety overall. And yeah, makes me very happy that this is happening. And maybe I'll show the first model that we launched with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, that's such a good story about the first one delivered. I love that.
Yeah, no, that was cool and so exciting, and everything was new. Starting a business is such a challenge, and like you learn something new every single day. And the cool thing is I get to talk to so many women in different environments, and like you, the women in the plastics industry, which is so cool. Before that, I was very isolated. You could probably relate to that a lot of women are kind of in these silos, not being able to connect with others. So this is the first boot that we launched with, the Gravity boot, which has a heel based on Canadian safety standards because Americans don't have anything, a steel toe cap, a slip-resistant rubber outsole. And then after we gathered more input from women in other industries, we launched the Omega boot that has more ankle coverage, an electric hazard certification, a protective toe cap, slip-resisting outsole. So yeah, it's just super cool to listen to women's needs, and like over time, we're a small team, over time to develop one product at a time. And help them feel more confident.
I think that is like a real, concern, because my dad and my brother, they both work for the town that I grew up in, and they always have to get their like safety boots, and they have their like safety shirts and all that stuff. And one time I remember asking my dad, like, what do you do if you have a female employee? And he's like, I don't know. I don't think we have anything for them. It's like, and if I were to go into that situation, you go to any event, not so much nowadays. I feel like people are pushing towards having women's products, but like, it used to be in the past, it would be like, oh, you want this men's shirt? I'm sure this extra large fits great. Or, here's some safety glasses. That'll be fine. Like,
I remember, Lindsay, when we went to the PlastChicks news event, Women Breaking the Mold, and there was a Conair booth, and they were giving out women's t-shirts at the booth, and everybody was like, "What? I need a Conair shirt."
Yeah, Lindsay, you brought up a really good point. Like the issue in the industry was that a lot of companies applied the shrink it and pink it concept that I learned about. So apparently a lot of companies used to take men's boots or men's jackets or men's pants, make them smaller and make them pink or purple and label them as women's. But we have different bodies, and like we have different needs. Like making something smaller and pink does not solve it. Like I don't feel confident standing in a room full of seasoned engineers where I have to lead a project in pink, smaller men's boots. So yeah, but over time, like there are more and more companies that decided to solve these problems. And the cool thing is that I see more and more women actually going to these fields and fixing these problems themselves. Like Hot Work is a good example. They do FR clothing for women because she used to work in oil and gas. It's like, I hate these men's coveralls. So she decided to do that. Then there's See Her Work. She struggled with safety gloves. She was tired of men's gloves, so she decided to do gloves and safety vests. We have one company in Milwaukee, See Her Work. She's in the towing industry and decided to make better high-vis clothing for women. So it's kind of cool to see women stepping up and deciding to create better PPE and workwear for women in various industries.
I hadn't heard about those others, and now I'm just like, "Ooh, do you guys like get together for drinks? Like, is this like a social club? Like all these like CEOs who started these amazing companies." I want to just let me know when it is. I just want to come and just like be a fly on the wall.
On the periphery. We'll insert ourselves into the conversation as we normally do, and then.
I think it would be super cool. I hope with the vaccines rolling out and the economy reopening, there will be more in-person events. And I hope there will be an opportunity in the future where we all can hang out together. That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be great. So, one thing I was thinking about, and this is something that's becoming more and more industrial designers are becoming more and more vocal about it. And there've been some great books published recently, about how the majority of industrial designers, the people who are designing everything around us, are men, right? It's even though there's a higher percentage of or increasing percentages of women getting industrial design degrees, the people who are actually working are majority are men. So that means even the people who are designing products for women are men. The story that I tell again and again is I was speaking to a gentleman who had 30 patents for tampons, and he was too embarrassed to tell me what it was for. And then Lindsay was like, that's why they're so uncomfortable, designed by a man.
Well, and and alongside that story, and I've told this story, I think on the podcast before.
Yeah, I think
this was told secondhand to me by another female plastics engineer. Is she was in a room with men talking about the requirements for the material on a tampon applicator, and they said, well, it's got to be stable to humidity and heat and all this stuff. And she's like, why? And they're like, well, it goes in the body. And she's like, for a second, like that doesn't stay in the body. And like they're designing it, and that part of it was just totally missed.
Right. Wow. Yeah. And yeah, just what you were talking about, the shrink it and pink it thing, I know I was going to ask you if you're working on anything else, but that's exciting. You can tell us about, but I would personally like to request that maybe you look into lab coats because,
okay.
I know you do the blazers now, but lab coats, I know, I always wear blazers under my lab coats, but I would love to have a lab coat that is a little bit more chic. How did you find your industrial designers?
Let's see. It was challenging to find the right manufacturing partner, but for the designers, we worked with different people. For footwear design, we have a designer who's actually traveling all around the world, but because she's so incredibly reliable, and I don't care if you're working from Portugal or from South America or the US right now. So we found her through, I think, Upwork. Mm-hmm. And then for some of our clothing, we worked with a former designer who used to work at Carhartt at some point. And then one of our customers actually is designing one of our upcoming projects that I cannot share yet, but she works in a foundry. She wears her boots, so she understands the work environment where these clothes are needed. But her degree is in design, fashion design. That's what she used to do a long time ago, and she wanted to get back into it. So she helped us create one of the products. So we worked with different types of designers, and we try to get feedback from women during the tech pack development phase. We find out what is actually important, what features are needed, and then once we release prototypes, we definitely want to hear feedback, because we're not tied to a season. We don't want to chase fashion to create something that will be out of style in a year or in a season. For us, it's very important to get to the perfect product that will be comfortable, that will be safe, and as stylish as it possibly can be.
Yeah. And, if a company is giving out like safety dollars or, whatever to like purchase your PPE, it's usually only once a year anyway. So it's wise to keep it, consistent throughout the year. You're not doing steel toe sandals.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Steel toe sandals. So one of your goals is to well, actually, if you could tell us first if there are any product, I know you said there's something you can't tell us about, but is there anything new that you're working on that you can?
Yeah. So the latest product that we're designing is a safety shoe for women in construction, because our mega boot is already covers a lot of needs for women in different industries, for manufacturing, engineering, and construction. But then we received some requests that women wanted to have a full waterproof boot. So in this case, the elastic is not ideal. So waterproofing is important. We want to incorporate a puncture-resistant outsole. That is important in different industries. Deeper thread. Certain companies have a 6-inch shaft limitation, and the next boot will have a lace up. So we look at all the features that we have been missing. So that will go into this incredibly functional safety shoe that we will be hopefully releasing later this year. And we'll work on a completely different toe cap, because steel is great and withstands a lot of force. The challenge is working in the Midwest, and Mercedes, you probably know, like the winters in Chicago can get really cold. So if you're working outside a lot, your feet get really cold. So we're exploring other materials that will be more insulating, and composite toe caps are on the list.
Very cool. That's exciting. Well, I might have to get a third pair of Xenas then.
Yeah. And besides that, we expanded, besides safety shoes, which is the biggest pain point and will always be our main focus, we expanded into more functional blazers. I'm wearing right now like our very latest release, which is this very functional, machine washable, lightweight blazer with a bunch of different pockets.
Nice.
At cinchable waist, so functionality is incredibly important to us. So that is the latest.
We had a kind of going back to the lab coats, we have at our work just kind of like lab coat, mechanic-y type things. And like they gave me, I don't even know what size, but they gave me a size and I was like, this doesn't fit over my chest. So I just had to get like a bigger size, but I wear it and it just looks like, I get caught on like, if I'm like trying to put change an insert out in a mold, like I'm getting caught on stuff because it's just hanging on me. I need something that I can like cinch up and fits me and like isn't oversized, isn't something I have to leave open. Like that would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's on our list. I would love to connect with two of you separately to learn a bit more about like what features are important. Does it have to be chemical resistant in your case?
Not for me. Just mine's just grease and raw pellets.
Mine needs to be dark colored just because they get so much coloring on them, but
okay.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, we'll chat a bit more about the lab coat. Like we had so many requests from women who want a better lab coat. So
oh, really?
On our list. Yeah.
It's not just me being greedy.
No, the only challenge is that certain companies work with a provider that delivers the lab coats and then they pick them up for washing. And so they don't have a choice to get their own, but if there's flexibility inside the company, like we can make it happen.
Right. Yeah, no, we have a service here that does that, but I would buy my own and wash it on my own too. I'd have to run it completely separately from everything else because of all the pigments, but I would do that.
accidentally throwing your favorite white shirt.
So how, well, actually going back, I was going to talk about some of your goals, but I want to talk about the unboxing experience, because now are you just all e-commerce right now? Or are you in stores at all?
We're all e-commerce. We kind of developed may have been a mistake, but we just decided to pass on all the savings on directly to the consumer, because if you go through retail, you have one manufacturing cost, and then you have a markup before you go to the retailer, because the more middlemen you have in between, the higher the product gets. So we decided to pass on the savings to our customers directly. So we're mainly e-commerce, but we provide a super easy shipping process so women can find their model, the size and color on the website. We have a size guide that explains, like, also, like, you can call us. We're our customer service super helpful to provide recommendations for sizing, and then we offer free exchanges and returns in case you don't like the fit or need an adjustment. So we try to make it as easy as possible, but right now we're all e-commerce.
And yeah, I found it really easy, and I was impressed with how quickly it shipped, how quickly I received them, especially during the pandemic, right, when everything was delayed. I was really impressed with that. But I have to say, all these e-commerce companies are like heightening the unboxing experience. But I have to say, and this was, I think, the thing that I immediately commented on the website, was just like, it was the best unboxing experience I'd had in my whole life. It was glorious. I mean, yeah, I was like, and my daughter and son were there next to me, and I was like almost crying. I was just like, because it's like, oh my gosh, all the messaging that goes into it, and like I totally have one of the cards I have my little Xena safety boot card. But tell me about,
cool.
It's if anybody listening, if you've ever received your pair of Xenas, it's just a really, really nice experience. There's a lot more than, there are all these little, cards in there with messages, and the bags also that come with the shoes. But yeah, can you tell us about how that came to be? Because it was glorious.
I'm so happy to hear that you appreciated every single detail of it, because we try to do everything with purpose. So every single thing has a purpose. One of the cards explains like why I decided to start this company, and like there's a QR code where you can learn a bit more. Then the safety card was very purposeful, because I knew that women will get challenged at some point. That because our shoes look so nice, so many 100%. Women get asked like, wait a second, are you actually wearing safety boots? And then instead of someone stepping on their feet, they can have the safety card that specifically lists the different ESDM certifications that we have. Then the bags, they help because we want our products to last. So, and when you travel, a lot of our customers travel a lot. So we wanted to provide these reusable bags that you can, where you can put the shoes into and like go on a trip, throw them in a suitcase.
And I use those all the time going up to scenic Sheboygan. Cool.
Nice. So yeah, it's very cool that those are used. And then, yeah, the last probably piece that we put some thought into it is the quote that we include in the box, which says, "Be safe, be you, be a badass." And the reason is we thought, like, what is the most important thing that we want to do? It's like we want women to be safe, because we all work in these environments where you have a lot of different hazards. So safety is our number one priority. And then the BU part is, I've seen so many women who, and experienced it myself, who kind of try to dress like a guy to fit into this environment. And in some cases, you don't try to dress like a guy, but that's all you have available. You don't feel like yourself. And by providing safety shoes that are actually designed for a woman's foot, where that opens up possibilities to wear something more professional or just feel like yourself, you will be more successful at work and just feeling like you. And the last part is, like, be a badass is, I think a lot of the women who go into these fields, non-traditional fields, have a slightly rebellious mindset where, like, I can do this thing. It's not the most traditional path, but I can make anything happen. So it's just encouraging everyone to follow their personal path and support each other.
I love it. Yeah, that quote, it's on the inside of the box when you open them up, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like it was just such a good experience. My daughter was immediately like, "Mom, can I have the box? I want the box." So she has it. She kept it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Oh, yeah, I do love that. Just the be you, be a badass. I mean, be safe.
To be safe. Okay, yeah.
I love that one, but like, I remember, I wear a lot of lipstick, and it kind of stemmed from my time in like the medical industry, because I would, you can't wear makeup in a clean room, and when I first started in the medical industry, I was working as a co-op, and so I was 21, 22, something like that, and not wearing makeup, I was almost always asked whose daughter I was. Not as much now. The bags under my eyes give it away.
Stop.
But like, one time, I was in the cafeteria, and the woman thought I was. It was take your daughter work day. She thought I was one of the guy's daughters, and so she actually charged my lunch to him. And she's like, "Your lunch is already paid for." And I'm like, "What?" I work here. I have a badge. But like, and so wearing lipstick to me was like my way of like being able to, kind of assert that like I work here. I'm an adult. I have rent. I pay my insurance, and like, right. And like, plus it was easy to swipe off if I needed to go into a clean room. But it's one of those things that helps you stand out and be. I'm not one of the guys. I'm not someone's kid. I'm not someone's, whatever. I am a female engineer, and I am here to do my job and do my job the way I intend to do my job. And like, so I love just a shoe that says, "This is what I'm here to do."
Yeah. And sorry for that spoiler alert, Lindsay, about the box, but yeah, it's such a good.
I will still enjoy it when I open the box.
You will.
Yeah. No, that this is a really good example. Like, so many women get asked. I listened to the another podcast that you two recorded, and someone mentioned like they were asked like, "Are you?" Well, I think one of you has been asked, "Are you a secretary?" Like, really? Like, women, there's still this unconscious bias, and like women have to prove themselves. Like, yeah, I'm actually an engineer. Like, and
right.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't know, you might have been asked too, but I definitely have been asked that.
So you inspire so many people. Can you tell us about the people who inspire you?
Yeah, there are so many people who inspire me, and I try to build a successful business and help many women succeed. But I love to read books and kind of get inspired by others. Like, some of the people I admire are, one of them is the founder of Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard, who created this brand where they have the strong focus on making clothes very durable. And I'm rereading the book for a second time, and I'm still picking up bits and pieces that I have not even thought about. Like, for example, if your zipper breaks or something breaks, they make the clothing that you can replace the different parts of it. And then the other aspect that's not trying to chase fashion, but create something that is incredibly timeless and durable. And ideally, I try to apply the same concept of designing something that is versatile, that you can wear in your office, on the manufacturing floor, to dinner, like or even in your free time of getting a cocktail with your friends. So if I can create the most versatile product, that makes me just so happy. So he's one of them. And then other people are, Sarah Blakely taught me how failure is just part of the process, because initially when I launched the company, I was so afraid and worried about things like, oh my God, will women love my boots? And like, what if someone does not like the design? And what if I fail? And what will people think if I fail? And I like had to find a way to cope with this fear of failure. And I think Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, is one of the best examples, who kind of learned as a child to incorporate failure as a learning process, because when she and her brother came back from school and her dad asked like, what did you guys fail at today? And if they didn't have anything to say, he was disappointed. And when they said like, hey dad, I tried this new thing today and I failed, like he would high five them. So it shows us an example that it's okay to try something new. And like, if you fail along the way, it's just part of the process. And her definition of failure is like not trying at all. So
I love that.
That's kind of cool. And then maybe the last example I'll bring up is Elon Musk with his multiple companies. After I read his book, I thought, holy cow, like if Elon Musk can start PayPal and Tesla and SpaceX and the Boring Company, whatever else he's doing, like I can start at least one very successful company and make the best products for women. So he was a big inspiration to me as well.
I love it.
So cool.
All
So
right.
what's next? What are you gonna continue? I mean, you're working on some new products for Xena. Are you gonna expand the company? Are you gonna start other companies here, abroad, write a book?
Oh my God. There's so much I want to do. So my focus for the next years will be to continue delivering the best workwear products for women in non-traditional fields, including manufacturing, engineering, construction, oil and gas. So basically women in like these male dominated environments who don't have access to good work clothing. And then at some point, like I have a whole list of things I want to do. I will try to find a way to either through the company to support women's rights globally. Like we're so lucky to live in the US. Like although we still have certain struggles with equality in this country, in the Western world, there are women outside of the Western world who struggle with like terrible things that I would love to tackle at some point, whether it's through Xena or if I'll do it on my own. I'm still part of the nonprofit building sustainable food and water supply systems in African countries, and I think that can be expandable. Sustainability is incredibly important to me. Whether I'll do it through the company or we'll find a way to tackle plastic pollution in certain parts of the world. And I would love to learn from you ladies as well at some point, like how plastics can be, there's a cycle they can go through. And I think a lot of countries don't know how to utilize that and how to implement recycling systems. And so much to do.
Yeah. I mean, Germany honestly is so good at that, but yeah. What about the book though? I want to read your book. Are you planning to, I hope you're planning to write one.
Basically what she's saying is just write it. We'll read it.
Yeah. I'd like to read a book that you write.
Oh, yeah, I have not figured out if and when I will write a book, but that is a good idea. Right now, I recommend to everyone to read the book from Trisha Kagerer. I left it accidentally at the SWE event on Saturday. So it's called The B Words. So she's an executive in the construction industry, and she wrote this book specifically for women in non-traditional fields and like what to expect. And it's similar to Lean In, but more focused on women in non-traditional fields. So I highly recommend to read that book now. And maybe at some point when I'll have a bit more free time, I would love to write something else focusing on entrepreneurship and inspire more women to start a business and just finding something they are passionate about and making a difference.
I love it.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, Anna Kraft, thank you so much for joining us on PlastChicks today. It's been a delight to talk to you, and I hope that we can have a multilingual meetup, sometime soon as we're coming out of the pandemic in Wisconsin.
Can it also be in English?
It can also be, yes,
Yeah.
it will include English.
I will drink my beer in the corner for the most part, but
Oh my God. Yeah, I would love to. And I would love to meet up in person at some point. Like, let's stay in touch. And if you will ever be in Milwaukee, let me know. I would be happy to grab a beer or two at one of the cool breweries that we have here. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm in for an adventure.
Awesome.
All right.
Pleasure
Thanks so
meeting
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Спасибо. Bye.